After 60, your body starts keeping secrets from you. Muscle fibers shrink faster than you realize. Balance receptors in your inner ear stop sending clear signals. Your mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside every cell, begin to slow their work. And here's what most doctors won't tell you during a 10-minute checkup: the difference between moving through your 70s with confidence and spending those years afraid of a fall often comes down to one single practice that takes less than 3 minutes a day. Right now in Japan, men and women in their 80s and 90s are walking upstairs without grabbing the rail. They're gardening for hours without lower back pain. They're playing with grandchildren on the floor and standing up without using their hands. Meanwhile, in the United States, 1 in 4 people over 65 will fall this year. Half of those who break a hip will never return to their previous level of independence. The gap isn't genetics. It's not luck. It's a daily movement pattern that's been hiding in plain sight for generations, dismissed by Western medicine as too simple to matter. Today, I'm going to show you the single most powerful anti-aging exercise practiced by Japanese elders, something 99% of American seniors have never tried. But here's the catch. I'm going to count down through 10 movements first, building from good to extraordinary, because the top practice only works when you understand what it's replacing. Number 2 on this list will surprise you. It involves nothing more than a wall and 30 seconds. But number 1, that's the movement that changes everything. It rewires your nervous system, rebuilds strength in places physical therapy ignores, and costs you nothing but 3 minutes each morning. Before we go further, do me a favor. Drop a comment right now and tell me how old you are and where you're watching from. I want to know who's in this room with me today, because what I'm about to share works differently depending on whether you're 62 or 82, and I'll explain why as we go. Let's start at number 10, the doorway chest stretch. You've probably seen this one. You stand in a door frame. Place your forearms on each side and lean forward gently until you feel a pull across your chest and shoulders. 30 seconds, twice a day. Why does this matter after 60? Because decades of driving, computer work, and simply protecting ourselves from the world round our shoulders forward. That rounding compresses the thoracic spine, restricts how deeply you can breathe, and shifts your center of gravity in a way that makes falls more likely. The doorway stretch opens the anterior shoulder and chest, pulling your skeleton back toward neutral. In some movement studies, seniors who stretched their chest and shoulders daily showed measurably better balance scores within 2 weeks. I worked with a woman named Dorothy, 71, a retired postal clerk who used to hunch forward whenever she walked. She felt invisible, she told me, like her body was apologizing for taking up space. I had her do the doorway stretch every morning after brushing her teeth. 2 weeks in, her daughter asked if she'd gotten taller. She hadn't, she'd just stopped folding herself in half. 3 months later, Dorothy walked a 5K for the first time in 20 years. The stretch itself didn't do that, but it started a chain reaction, opening her breath, lifting her gaze, changing how she carried herself through the world. Here's your protocol. Stand in any standard doorway. Place your forearms flat against the frame, elbows bent at 90 degrees. Step 1, foot slightly forward. Lean your body weight gently through the doorway until you feel a moderate stretch across your chest, not pain. Hold for 30 seconds. Breathe slowly. Do this twice a day, morning and night. If you have a shoulder injury or rotator cuff issue, keep the stretch light and talk to a physical therapist before going deeper. Now, let's move to number 9. The sit-to-stand practice, no hands. This is exactly what it sounds like. You sit in a firm chair, feet flat on the floor, and you stand up without using your arms to push off. Then you sit back down, controlled, still no hands. Repeat 10 times. Do this twice a day. Why does it matter? Because the muscles that lift you from a chair, your quadriceps, glutes, and core stabilizers, are the same muscles that catch you when you trip. After 60, you lose muscle mass at a rate of about 3 to 8% per decade if you do nothing to stop it. That loss accelerates after 70. The sit-to-stand is a pure measure of leg strength and one of the most reliable predictors of mobility in older age. Research from gerontology centers has found that people who can complete 10 sit-to-stands in under 15 seconds tend to maintain independence longer than those who can't. I met a man named Carl, 68, a former truck driver with bad knees. He couldn't stand up from his couch without rocking forward and using both armrests. He was embarrassed every time his grandkids visited because he felt slow and fragile. I told him to practice sit-to-stands 3 times a day using a dining chair, which is higher and easier than a soft couch. For the first week, he used one finger on the table for balance, just a touch. Second week, no hands. By week 4, he could do 15 reps. His knees still ached sometimes, but his legs were strong enough to compensate. Last I heard, he was coaching his grandson's little league team, squatting down to tie cleats, standing up without a second thought. Here's how you do it safely. Choose a firm chair with no arms, or tuck your arms across your chest so you're not tempted to cheat. Sit with your feet hip-width apart, flat on the floor. Lean your torso slightly forward, then press through your heels and stand up. Pause at the top. Lower yourself back down slowly, resisting gravity. That lowering phase, the eccentric contraction, builds strength faster than the lift. Start with 5 reps if 10 is too hard. Build up over 2 weeks. If balance is shaky, keep one hand near a wall or table, fingertip contact only, just enough to feel secure. Number 8. The Wall Angel. This one surprises people because it looks so gentle, but it works deep. You stand with your back flat against a wall, heels about 3 inches out, butt and shoulders touching the surface. Then you raise your arms into a goalpost position, elbows bent, backs of your hands against the wall if possible. Slowly slide your arms up overhead, keeping contact with the wall, then slide them back down. 10 reps once a day. Why does this matter? Because the Wall Angel trains scapular stability and thoracic extension, 2 things that disappear when we spend years slumping. It also reveals restrictions in your shoulder mobility and upper back that you might not feel until you try to reach for something on a high shelf and tweak your rotator cuff. Some rehabilitation. Specialists use the Wall Angel as both an assessment and a corrective. If you can't keep your hands on the wall as you slide them up, you've got tightness or weakness that needs attention. I worked with a woman named Evelyn, 74, a retired piano teacher. She had frozen shoulder on her right side, couldn't lift her arm past shoulder height without sharp pain. Traditional physical therapy had stalled. I introduced the Wall Angel, but modified. She kept her elbows lower, didn't force the hands to the wall, just moved through whatever range felt manageable. Every day, a little more space. 6 weeks later, she played a full recital, hands overhead on the keys, no pain. The Wall Angel didn't fix her shoulder by itself, but it gave her nervous system permission to explore movement again without fear. Protocol. Stand with your back to a wall, heels a few inches out. Press your lower back gently toward the wall. Slight pelvic tilt. Raise your arms into a W shape, elbows bent, backs of the hands touching the wall if you can. Slide your arms up like you're making a snow angel, keeping contact. If your hands come off the wall, that's fine. Go as far as you can, then slide back down. 10 slow reps. Do this daily, preferably in the morning when your muscles are stiff, because that's when you'll learn the most about your body. Here's the kicker. Everything I've just told you is good, useful, evidence-backed, but we're still in the shallow end. The next movement is where things start to shift. Number 7. The single leg balance hold. You stand on one foot for 30 seconds, then switch. Repeat 3 times per side. No shoes, on a flat surface, eyes open. This is one of the simplest and most predictive tests of fall risk in older adults. If you can't hold a single leg balance for at least 10 seconds, your risk of falling in the next year goes up significantly. The act of balancing on one leg forces your body to recruit small stabilizer muscles in your foot, ankle, hip, and core. It sharpens proprioception, the sense of where your body is in space. That sense fades after 60, quietly, until one day you step off a curb wrong and don't correct in time. Data from longevity research in Japan and Europe shows that balance ability in midlife and beyond correlates with brain health. Not just muscle strength, the cerebellum, the part of your brain that coordinates movement, needs constant challenge or it atrophies just like a muscle. I met a man named Robert, 79, a retired engineer who prided himself on never needing help. But he'd started shuffling when he walked, afraid to lift his feet. He couldn't stand on one leg for even 5 seconds. I had him practice every morning while brushing his teeth, holding the counter with one hand at first. 2 weeks in, he let go of the counter. 4 weeks, he was steady for 30 seconds. The shuffling stopped. He told me he felt like his brain and his feet were talking again. Here's the protocol. Stand barefoot on a hard floor near a wall or counter. Shift your weight onto your right leg. Lift your left foot a few inches off the ground, knee slightly bent. Hold for 30 seconds, breathing normally, eyes looking straight ahead at a fixed point. If you wobble, touch the wall, reset, keep going. Switch legs. Repeat 3 times per side. Once that becomes easy, try it with your eyes closed for 10 seconds. That's a whole different game. Your vestibular system has to work without visual input, and that's where real balance is built. If you've got neuropathy in your feet or severe arthritis, keep one fingertip on a surface for safety. The goal is challenge, not injury. Now, number 6, the deep squat hold. Not a moving squat, a static hold. You lower yourself into the deepest squat position you can manage, heels down if possible, and you sit there for 1 minute. This is a resting position in many parts of Asia, used for everything from cooking to waiting for the bus. In the West, we lost it. We sit in chairs. Our hips tighten, our ankles stiffen, and by 60, most of us can't even get into a deep squat without falling backward. Why does that matter? Because the deep squat opens the hips, stretches the Achilles tendons, decompresses the lower spine, and builds ankle mobility. All of that translates to better movement in daily life. Getting down on the floor to play with a grandchild, gardening, picking something up without hurting your back. Some physical therapists call the deep squat the ultimate mobility test. If you can sit in it comfortably, your joints are healthy. If you can't, you found your homework. I worked with a woman named Linda, 66, who hadn't been able to squat below knee height in 15 years. Her lower back ached constantly. I had her practice using a low stool at first, just lowering herself to the stool and pausing there for 20 seconds. Heels flat. Every week, a lower stool. After 2 months, she could hold a full squat for 45 seconds. Her back pain disappeared. She told me she felt 20 years younger, not because the pain was gone, but because she could move like a younger person again. Protocol. Stand with feet shoulder-width apart, toes slightly out. Lower yourself down as if sitting between your heels. Keep your chest up, heels on the ground. If you can't keep your heels down, place a folded towel or small wedge under them. If you can't squat that deep, hold onto a door frame or sturdy post and let your arms take some weight. Sit in the bottom position for 30 seconds to start. Build to 1 minute over 2 weeks. Do this once a day. If you have knee replacements or severe knee pain, skip this one and talk to a therapist. Otherwise, the deep squat is one of the kindest things you can do for your aging body. Number 5. Toe yoga. This one sounds silly until you try it. You sit in a chair, barefoot, and you practice lifting just your big toe while keeping the other 4 toes on the ground. Then you reverse it. Press the big toe down and lift the other 4. 10 reps per foot, twice a day. Why does this matter? Because the intrinsic muscles of your feet, the tiny muscles that control individual toe movement, are the foundation of your balance system. Shoes, especially stiff or narrow ones, turn those muscles off. After decades in shoes, most people can't move their toes independently. The foot becomes a rigid block. When that happens, you lose the ability to adjust your balance in real time. A small trip becomes a fall. Research from biomechanics labs has shown that stronger foot muscles improve balance and reduce ground reaction forces, meaning less stress on your knees and hips with every step. I worked with a man named Frank, 72, a retired contractor with plantar fasciitis and balance problems. He couldn't do toe yoga at all on the first try. His toes just clenched together like a fist. I had him practice for 2 minutes every morning while drinking coffee. 3 weeks in, he could isolate his big toe. 6 weeks, all his toes moved independently. His plantar fasciitis improved. His balance improved. He said it felt like his feet woke up after a long sleep. Protocol: sit in a chair, feet flat on the floor, no shoes or socks. Lift your big toe while keeping the other 4 toes pressed down. Hold for 2 seconds, release. Then press the big toe down and try to lift the other 4. It's harder than it sounds. If nothing happens at first, just think about the movement. Your brain will start building the neural pathway. Do 10 reps per foot, twice a day. This is one of those exercises that seems like nothing but changes everything. Number 4. The Japanese towel pull. This is a grip and forearm strengthener disguised as a simple task. You take a standard bath towel, twist it tight, and then you wring it out as hard as you can, as if you're squeezing water from it for 30 seconds. Switch directions, wring it the other way. Repeat 3 times. Do this daily. Why does grip strength matter after 60? Because grip strength is one of the most reliable biomarkers of overall health and longevity. Studies across multiple countries have found that people with stronger grips live longer, have fewer chronic diseases, and maintain independence later in life. Grip strength correlates with heart health, muscle mass, bone density, and even cognitive function. The towel pull works your forearms, hands, wrists, and shoulders in a rotational pattern that mimics real life. Opening jars, wringing out a mop, turning a stubborn doorknob. I met a woman named Margaret, 69, who had developed arthritis in her hands and couldn't open a bottle of water without help. She felt humiliated every time she had to ask someone. I taught her the towel pull, but gently at first, just a light twist with no pain. Every day, a bit more pressure. Within a month, her hands were strong enough to open jars again. She cried when she told me, not because of the jar, but because she got a piece of her dignity back. Protocol: grab a standard bath towel, hold one end in each hand. Twist the towel in opposite directions, as if wringing out water, and squeeze as hard as you can without pain. Hold the twist for 10 seconds, then relax. Reverse the direction and twist again. Do this 3 times per direction. Once a day is enough. If you have severe arthritis or hand pain, use a thinner towel or dishcloth, something easier to grip. The goal is progressive resistance, not injury. Now here's where it gets interesting. The next 3 movements are where the real transformation happens. Everything up to this point has been building the foundation. But number 3 is where we start to touch the nervous system in ways Western exercise usually ignores. Number 3. The Seiza sit with ankle stretch. Seiza is the traditional Japanese kneeling position. You kneel on the floor, shins flat, and sit back on your heels. In this version, you hold that position for 1 minute, letting your body weight gently stretch the tops of your feet and your ankles. Then, you tuck your toes under, curl them so you're kneeling on the balls of your feet, and sit back again for 30 seconds. This second position is intense. It stretches the plantar fascia and the toe flexors, and it wakes up every nerve in your feet. Why does this matter after 60? Because ankle mobility and toe flexibility are 2 of the most neglected aspects of aging. Stiff ankles change how you walk. They force your knees and hips to compensate, which leads to pain. Tight toes reduce your push-off power when you walk, making you shuffle. The Seiza sit restores length and function to tissues that have been locked in shoes for decades. Some movement specialists in Japan consider ankle flexibility as important as hip or shoulder flexibility for longevity. I worked with a man named George, 77, a retired firefighter with ankles so stiff he walked like he had blocks of wood strapped to his feet. He couldn't kneel at all when we started. I had him sit on a thick cushion in Seiza for just 20 seconds at first, using his hands to support some weight. Every few days, a little longer, a little less support. After 6 weeks, he could sit back on his heels for a full minute. His gait changed. He walked smoother, faster, with a spring in his step he hadn't felt in years. He told me it was like someone oiled his hinges. Protocol: kneel on a soft surface, a yoga mat or folded blanket. Sit back on your heels, tops of your feet flat on the ground. Rest your hands on your thighs. Hold for 1 minute, breathing slowly. If this is too intense, place a cushion between your calves and thighs to reduce the stretch. After 1 minute, curl your toes under so you're kneeling on the balls of your feet. Sit back gently. This will feel sharp. Hold for 20 to 30 seconds. If it's too much, just do 10 seconds. Build up slowly. Do this once a day, preferably in the evening when your tissues are warm. Number 2. The wall sit with breath control. Here's the surprise I promised. You stand with your back against a wall, then slide down until your knees are bent at 90 degrees, like you're sitting in an invisible chair. But here's the twist. While you hold that position, you breathe in a very specific pattern. 4 seconds in through your nose. Hold for 4 seconds. 6 seconds out through your mouth. Repeat that cycle for as long as you can hold the wall sit, aiming for 1 minute. Why does this combination matter? Because the wall sit builds serious leg strength, the kind that protects your knees and prevents falls. But the breath pattern does something different. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, while your muscles are under load. That trains your body to stay calm under stress. It lowers your resting heart rate over time, improves heart rate variability, and teaches you to tolerate discomfort without panic. Research in integrative medicine has shown that combining isometric holds with controlled breathing can lower blood pressure and improve autonomic nervous system function in older adults. I met a woman named Alice, 73, who had high blood pressure and terrible anxiety. She was on 3 medications and still felt like her heart was racing all the time. I taught her the wall sit with breath control. 30 seconds at first, building to 1 minute over 3 weeks. Her blood pressure started dropping. Her doctor reduced one of her medications. But more than that, Alice told me she felt like she'd found a reset button. Whenever she felt anxious, she'd do a wall sit and breathe. 1 minute later, she was calm. Protocol: stand with your back flat against a wall. Slide down until your thighs are parallel to the floor, knees at 90 degrees. Your feet should be far enough from the wall that your knees stay directly over your ankles. Hold that position. Now breathe. 4 seconds in through your nose, filling your belly. Hold for 4 seconds. 6 seconds out through your mouth, emptying completely. Repeat that cycle. Aim for 1 minute total. If your legs give out before a minute, that's fine. Note your time. Try to add 5 seconds every few days. Do this once a day. If you have knee problems, start with a shallower squat, less than 90 degrees, and build depth over time. That brings us to number 1, the movement that 99% of American seniors have never tried, the practice that changes everything. It's called the Nadabrama walk, though in Japan it's sometimes just called the mindful step. Here's what it is. You walk slowly, barefoot, on flat ground, and with every single step you pay complete attention to the sensation of your foot touching the floor. Heel first, then the ball, then the toes. You feel the pressure, the texture, the temperature. You walk for 3 minutes every morning with no other goal except to feel your feet. That's it, no speed, no distance. Just presence. Why is this the most powerful anti-aging exercise? Because after 60, the biggest threat to your independence isn't weak muscles. It's a disconnected nervous system. Your brain stops getting clear signals from your feet. You lose proprioception, the sense of where your body is in space. That's what causes falls. That's what makes you feel unsteady. The Nadabrama walk rebuilds that connection. Every mindful step wakes up the mechanoreceptors in your feet, the tiny sensors that send information to your brain about balance and position. Over time, your nervous system learns to trust your feet again. Your gait becomes more confident. Your balance improves not because you got stronger, but because your brain and body are talking again. Studies from neuroscience labs have found that mindful walking practices increase activity in the sensoromotor cortex and improve balance. Outcomes in older adults faster than traditional strength training alone. The mechanism is simple. Attention is the gateway to neuroplasticity. When you pay attention to a movement, your brain builds new connections to support it. I worked with a woman named Ruth, 81, who had fallen 3 times in 1 year. She was terrified to walk anywhere without a walker. Her muscles were fine. Her problem was fear and disconnection. I taught her the Nadabrama walk. 3 minutes every morning, barefoot on her kitchen floor, heel to ball to toe, feeling everything. She thought I was crazy, but she tried it. 2 weeks in, she noticed she wasn't shuffling anymore. 4 weeks, she walked to her mailbox without the walker. 3 months later, she took a trip to visit her son in another state. No fear. She said the walk gave her back her trust in her own feet. Here's the protocol. Find a safe flat space indoors about 10 feet long. Take off your shoes and socks. Stand still for a moment. Take a breath. Now walk slowly, ridiculously slowly, and as you take each step, feel your heel touch the ground first. Feel the weight roll forward through your arch, onto the ball of your foot, and finally onto your toes. Pause. Lift the foot. Feel it leave the ground. Place it forward, heel first. Repeat. Do this for 3 minutes. Your mind will wander. Bring it back to the sensation of your feet. That's the practice. Do it every single morning. If you need to hold on to a counter at first for balance, that's fine. The point is the attention, not the independence. This walk works because it's not about strength or flexibility. It's about awareness, and awareness is what we lose as we age. Slowly, until one day we realize we've been moving through the world half asleep. The Nadabrama walk wakes you up 3 minutes at a time. So here's what you've learned today. 10 movements counted down from useful to transformative. The doorway stretch, the sit to stand, the wall angel, the single leg balance, the deep squat hold, toe yoga, the towel pull, the Seiza sit, the wall sit with breath control, and finally, the Nadabrama walk. Each one targets a different piece of the aging puzzle. But the last one, the walk, ties everything together because it rebuilds the foundation that all other movement depends on, the connection between your brain and your body. You don't need a gym. You don't need equipment. You don't need to be strong or flexible or young. You just need to be willing to pay attention for 3 minutes a day. That's the secret Japanese elders have known for generations. Aging isn't something you fight. It's something you navigate with awareness, with small daily practices that add up to a life where you move with confidence instead of fear. Now, I want to hear from you. Which one of these 10 movements are you going to try first, and why? Drop a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one.